Okay.
Hey, my name is Eric Deloach, and we're having, you know, making history right here, right now, with the first broadcast of American authors and others. We're talking about book authors. Um, we will, cover American authors primarily, but also with UK authors, Australian authors, Indian authors, but today American authors. And I'm a author myself, so I'm definitely pro author. Um, it's not about me today, but you can look up one book that I do have out now, and I have just came back from San Francisco and did some work on the third book. Second book should be out as well, but the first book is out. But let's go on to today's special and important guest, the first guest of American authors and other, and that's Miss Butterfly, Miss Madam Crystal Butterfly. So happy to have you today. And
Thank you for inviting me.
yes. And so what we'll do now, I just want to start, and I'm sure the public wants to for you to introduce yourself in the way that you feel comfortable talking about yourself, and we'll
Oh
go.
my, did this just freeze up?
Could you hear me?
It froze up for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, it's back. I don't know what that was all about. Lazy technology.
Yeah, it's something else. But anyway, we definitely want you to introduce yourself and talk about yourself, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll talk about your book as well.
Okay, all right, lovelies. I am Madam Crystal Butterfly, and I am the author of the books Curse of the Frog Prince Part 1 and Violet Evergreen and the Seeds of Rebellion. And I have an up-and-coming book called Curse of Frog Prince Part 2, the second entrance in the Curse of the Frog Prince series.
Great. So I mean, I'm so fascinated with authors, and I feel like you guys are, God's gift to the world, and you put so much time into it to share and contribute to the world as artists and wordsmiths. So just tell me a little bit about your background. I mean, about you, or if you just want to go into about your character, whatever way it works for you. But we definitely are fascinated with you and would like to know more.
Well, I'm a Southern woman born and raised. I originally never, ever, ever expected to be doing this whole author thing. My goal was to become an attorney. However, when I got my bachelor's in poli-sci, I'm not going to get too deep into this part of the story, but my family hit some out of the blue, very hard times, and it got in the way with me trying to go to grad school or do my backup plan of getting a paralegal training. And I had also been threatening nonstop, saying, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. You know the song and dance. I'm going to write a book. And I've been threatening to do that for years. So I was in a point of my life where my plans had clearly been put on hold. I needed to get my career started and not just, sit around. So I decided I'm going to actually write this book I'm always threatening to write. And I did it. And I discovered I actually have a talent for it. And I do enjoy doing it.
Okay, so you said for years you have been, contemplating and getting this birth child out to the public. What caused you, or what prompted you to even have the thought to be an author in the first place? What brought that about?
When I decided to write the book, I don't think I took the full plunge into authordom as I did later. It was me trying to figure my life out because the path I had chosen had clearly been blocked, and I did not really have a whole lot of options. And I was thinking, you know what? As I was telling you, I always threatened to do it. And I actually have members of my family who also threatened to write books and others who have tried and given up. I'm literally the first one to write a book and publish it. And I thank you. I'm glad I didn't give up like everybody else in my family's been proud of it. But as I was saying, I was just, when I decided to hardcore be an author is when I started working on my book and realized I had a talent. And I realized no sooner did I get that first story going, I had an idea for another story and another one and another one. I was thinking, this probably is a talent I have not nurtured. I should nurture it, especially since, okay, we see the media. It's usually a white man who must save us all.
Right.
And, you know, I'm really, really tired of that.
Okay.
Like it's usually a white guy. If we're lucky, it's a white female. But you know, we have other people on this planet that I feel need to be shown more. And I was thinking, I like the stories I'm coming up. If I write more good stories with more good Black characters showcasing Black people, let's push. I should be on board with pushing us more in the spotlight, having Black children see more of a strong Black character, or Black adults reading about a strong Black character, and all instead of always being pushed in the background.
And I mean, we have to acknowledge that we're Americans as well, as Black Americans with a unique perspective. Now, can you tell me who inspired you? What inspired you? Who inspired you? Tell us these inspirations. I mean, young people have to hear this, and it doesn't matter if you're Black or white or whatever. It's just, it's beautiful. Tell me what inspired this whole thing.
You mean in my author past I find inspirational, or inspiration in general?
Your story, just to think of a story and then say, I'm going to write a story for the world, no matter what color they are, so that they can see your voice. So what was the initial inspirations that touched you?
Okay, so like all authors, my ideas for my books come to me randomly when I could be doing something that has nothing to do with it and it just pops in my head. But as to wanting to showcase more of everybody else and show more of us in the forefront, I believe that came because my older brother, when Black Panther came out, he rented a theater and started a Black Panther challenge, saying challenge other Black folk to go and get tickets to the movie because we felt more Black superheroes should be shown. And at the same time, I was agreeing with them because every time we turn on the media, who do we see? We see people like Superman, or we see the old West things with some white males shooting at Native people. And yeah, that's the image. And I'm guessing you probably feel the same way. I'm tired of seeing that all the time. I don't want to remove white people from media, but I would like to see more of us showcase. I'm tired of every time we see Black folk, somebody got a drug problem, somebody's making a drug deal, or you got to be a baller, you got to be in football. You can't be in these big roles like maybe playing the lawyer or playing the hero. You have to be the sidekick. And I'm tired of seeing that. Why should we be second fiddle?
Exactly. Now, did Maya Angelou, could she be a person that was somewhere that was an influence of any kind? I mean, she definitely, you know. Okay, so we're talking about a book of fiction, and what have been some books in the past that you have come across, or movies, or anything that you think may have played a part in shape where you said Black Panther? Tell me about, well, let's go to Black Panther. What did that movie mean to you as a creator? You are a content creator. What did that movie mean to you?
Well, Black Panther hit me hard because I am African American and I am African Ghanaian. Ghana is a country in West Africa.
Okay.
And I felt like Black Panther spoke to both sides of me.
Okay.
Because I'm seeing this I know it's a fictional African country, but I get to see this African country and all of this stuff. And even some of the things, you know, my relatives are in Ghana and they tell me about and things like that, even though I know Wakanda doesn't exist.
Okay.
And it also showcased things going on in Black America, stuff we've known and even things we experience our entire lives. And it felt good to have that highlighted. It felt good to show that.
Right.
It felt good to just, you know, not have it shoved to the side.
Now tell me now, because this is fascinating. Tell me about the influence from the African side. Now I'm African American, and you know I'm proud of my heritage at, you know, somewhere down the line being African, but you know, coming descendant from African, you know. But tell me about that influence from that side of your family. What sticks out to you in terms of creativity, in terms of, you know, intellectual thought? One thing I think about when I was writing, I'm not going to go into the title of my book, it's not about me tonight, but there was in my book, I Theodore Franklin Theodore Franklin or whatever, one of the presidents, sorry, Theodore Roosevelt, excuse me. He had a saying that walk to, and I'm just paraphrasing, you walk with a big stick and basically keep quiet, and that stick speaks for you. Okay, you don't really have to make any you know, you don't have to poke your chest out or anything of that nature. Now, when I went to find that out, I found out in Wikipedia that it is thought, and it can be basically understand to a certain degree. They didn't go 100%, but they said that was an African proverb. And by the way, he used that proverb, if you will, to shape his foreign policy. So that was the influence of Africa on, you know, in the early 1900s on America. So I think we all have to acknowledge that Africa has played a significant role in so many ways, known and unknown, in American society, and I'm sure in other societies as well. A friend of mine actually checked to make sure everything was working tonight, was watching a program, I think last night or the night before, and it was talking about Italy. And it was an Asian American that was highlighting the influence of Africa and Arabs or whatever in, I think, the Arab culture of Italy. So, you know, Africa has had a broad influence globally that sometimes we're aware of, sometimes we're not, and that we're still discovering, you know, as we go on in humankind. But you know, that is an interesting prospect. So I'm very interested, and I'm sure that the viewers are, the public, white, black, yellow, green, whatever color you may be, would be interested to know what influence did that great and prosperous heritage that you possess, what did that mean to you? Did that influence some of the writing? Did that influence some of the development of you? Did that, for example, kept you going and saying that I'm going to do this book? Others may have not done it yet, but I'm going to be the first to really get the story out. I want generation upon generation after me to hear this great story that you I'm sure that you've written, that is fascinating tell me about the African influence. It's very important, I think, to the viewers, no matter what race. I want the UK to understand this. I want Russia to understand this. I want China to understand this. I want everybody to get the point of what this has meant to you and how it has influenced you.
With the African influence, I can guess it was huge. My late father was the one from Ghana. I learned a lot of Ghanaian traditions and stories through him growing up. And my mother also wanted me to be close to and know my Ghanaian culture. And it is a huge influence also because when I told my family when I was going to write a book, they were like, whew, good, you're going to do something. All right, fine. Well, you better finish it. Don't be like everybody else. Finish it. And what I like about it is with African families, a lot of time we are close like this. And when I decided to do that, I got a wave of support from my family. All the time checking, saying, how's the book going? Are you done with the book? You better write that book. Don't give up like such and such. You'll have a book and it's going to go on and on. So the African influence is huge, and it's so big in my world because I feel like I know more of who I am because I know I am Ghanaian. I know what my culture is. I know this, that, and the other thing. So it's a very big part of my life combined with, if you read my books, Curse of the Frog Prince, or even Violet Evergreen and the Seeds of Rebellion, you're going to see that African culture pop up because Curse of the Frog Prince takes place in a fictional African country. And even though it's a fantasy story, you will see little things that distinctly come from the continent. And my book, Violet Evergreen, also has little things pop up from the African continent as well. It also influenced how I name a lot of my characters because I wanted more. Not all my characters have African names, but I wanted a lot of them to have African names to push those names more into representation.
Right. I know that if I'm correct, and you correct me if I'm not correct, I think that Stevie Wonder is moving to your country there. It has high regard and has for many, I think decades, has been interested in doing so, and now is going to do so. And he stated, I think if I'm correct, that he felt that his children growing and grandchildren growing up over there would be safer than they would be in America. And I think probably also they would have a better understanding of self and love of self, I think, by doing that. So just tell me, because this is very interesting. Tell me what is about the family structure, what family means. And I know this is, it's not, I mean, I just, because people need to really know. Tell me about how's that set up in Guyana. And tell me, I'm sure you have doctors, I'm sure you have lawyers, I'm sure you have, you know, different important figures in that culture. And just talk about that briefly. It's very fascinating.
Well, I'm gonna say it's Ghana. I don't mind you accidentally saying Guyana because people get those two mixed up.
I'm sorry.
Ghana's in West Africa.
Okay, Ghana, I'm sorry.
How the family structure is, it's very, very family oriented. Like, okay, so my first cousins in the United States would be my cousins, but in Ghana, according to the Ghanaian tradition, they are my brother and sister.
Wow.
So their children are my nieces and nephews, but they're also my children.
Wow.
So, you know, I'm placed in a position where I have to be a good role model. I can't be, well, you're my cousin's baby. It's like, no, I'm your auntie. I have to be a good role model.
Great. Now, did you pull some of that? That's very fascinating. I never knew that. I'm sure viewers are being educated in real time here. Did you pull from some of that in this latest masterpiece that you've made, this latest work that you've done?
Yes, I did.
And are you okay now? You're one of the characters right now, right?
No, the
No, okay, no,
Eve
no.
of
This is
Thing is an entirely different story.
okay, okay, okay.
I don't
Um,
like doing self inserts. It's just the way I operate.
okay, no, no. I mean, that's very. What can I say about it? It's. I mean, it's creative, and you're really expressing yourself, and I think you're really drawing people in to say, like, wow, the way she presents herself is very creative, and I'm sure that they're going to be very excited to uh read your book. Now, did you live in that country prior to coming to America? No, yeah,
No,
it
I
was your
only got
parents,
to visit it once as a child. I was supposed to go back because we actually have a house my late father built over there.
right?
We were supposed to go back about 5 years ago, but that's when he got sick.
Okay, okay. Now, did you
And
visit? Did you ever visit over there?
only once when I was a child, so I don't
Okay.
fully remember. I have a lot of knowledge from it because my relatives,
Hmm.
we're a close family, as I said, they tell me stuff all the time. It's like, all right, this isn't, they're trying to get away from this a bit because it's kind of silly, but it's a thing over there. You're not supposed to hand anybody something with your left hand because your right hand was supposed to be your clean hand, and your left hand is the hand you're supposed to do anything dirty with.
Okay. Okay.
So it's things like little things like that. Like if I accidentally hand somebody something with my left hand without thinking, because I'm in the US and that's not a thing here, they will get on my case about it because I'm a Ghanaian. Or
Well,
even when it comes to pronunciation of certain things, because I'm
mhm.
still learning the language. But if I pronounce something wrong and somebody tells me, okay, my family will not let that slide because they're like, we tell Americans that's okay. You are a Ghanaian. Therefore, you better say this correctly.
Okay, excellence is an important thing in your culture. Um, Now, how long have you been thinking, but prior to writing the book, how long have you been contemplating, pondering? How long, how has it been months? Has it been years, a decade? How long did it before you actually got down to the down to business and actually decided, okay, I'm going to write this book?
Well, I would say years because I started talking about writing a book when I was still very, very little and didn't know how to write.
Hmm.
I would always say I'm doing it. I would dabble in it for like 5 minutes and stop.
Okay.
But I
Now, what?
kept one day I'll do it.
Wow. Okay. Now, was there anybody? Uh, well, and maybe you may inspire, but were there any great writers over there?
Yes, one of my favorite writers, his
Hmm.
name is Achebe. He wrote a very famous book called Things Fall Apart. And I
Okay.
love his story of how it highlights Nigerian culture. It
Okay.
gives you a look into Nigerian culture. And even though it's clearly a made up story, when you read it, it feels real. And it feels like the book was just made for you.
Okay. And so, uh, so exactly, was it 4 or 5 years, and then you decided, okay, I'm going to write this. I have these thoughts in my head, and they come to me. I'm gifted in terms of these thoughts. When did you start to sit down and start putting, rough draft or whatever your process? When did you actually start really getting into it? Was it 4 or 5 years? Was it 10 years? I'm just curious about that. I'm sure.
Well, after I got my degree, my father got glioblastoma, which is a brain tumor,
Okay,
and
sorry
other
about that.
family members also got sick as well.
Mm,
Several of them with cancer. It was like a baroque wave of just bad luck for a few years. And
right.
with that, I naturally had to put my whole law thing I was doing on hold.
Okay.
And when I did that, I just, like I told you, I need to figure my life out because you can't just sit there. So
Right.
I don't know what hit me, but one day, a story I've been playing around with in my head for years, I tried to write it once and gave up per se usual,
Mhm.
wouldn't leave me alone. So I was, like I said, I decided, well, just start writing a book.
Okay.
And the story is not out yet. It's one I'm still working on, but it's called Bloody Crown. And
Okay.
I was writing it, and the story takes place in a world where it's at the end of slavery and colonialism. And
Okay.
at the same time, you have this family in a fictional African country who has been taxed like no tomorrow, and they have to move. And their thing is, at first they don't want to, but then when they have to, they start to question their world. They start to question what they were told. They start to question everything. And I wanted to open the eyes of more people when the government says things. I'm not saying we need another insurrection by any means, good heavens, no.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is people need to start questioning things. Don't just go with things just because.
Okay. Okay. Um, so when you actually did you find yourself when you actually sat down and start writing, did you, okay, initially I had this idea, but you altered that idea. Um, what is your, I guess your actual process? What was your actual process once you actually, got involved in the writing process?
Well, with my writing process, what I do is I write half of an outline. For some reason, I have no patience to write a complete outline, but
Okay.
I'll write half of an outline as a guide for me to make sure I'm staying on track with what my story is about. Then I will use that to start writing the story,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm somewhere in between a discovery writer and a writer who plans. So I go, and after I get the outline done, I start writing the story, and I am notorious for changing my mind. So after I get a certain amount of my story written, I go back and read. And then if other ideas popped in to change or anything else, I do a little bit of that before I continue.
Great. Now, do you are some of your characters, okay, I know they may be fiction, I suspect. Are some of them, if there's some reality, are they based on some people that are real, but you kind of changed it up a little bit? Did you kind of mixed it like that?
I didn't really take people from real life so much. I took things from people who did stuff in real life. Like in
Mhm.
my book, Bloody Crown, I have more than one female and one male based off of Harriet Tubman.
Okay.
And I have other people who are based off the original conductors, but because it's a fictional world involving magic, they have to do things a bit differently than what happened in real life. But at the same time, I'm trying to talk about the danger, what slaves went through, everything else. And at the same time, I'm trying to talk about colonialism. And I take certain figures from history, because a lot of my ideas come from history. I will take things that they did or certain things as initial inspiration and maybe work with it to create what the character is going through or a bit of their personality.
Right. Now, did you, okay, this book that we're talking about, tell me the name of the book. Two things. Tell me the name of the book that you're talking about today. And if you actually have a copy of it, can you just put it up to the screen so that everybody can get a
Well,
glance of it?
the one I was talking to you about is sadly still in development. It's going to take me a minute to finish that book. I'm actually
Okay.
not going to release it till I complete the entire series of that one, because it's my first book, but it's also the most difficult to write, not out of understanding, but because it takes a lot, it has a lot of things going on. But my other books, let me
Okay.
reach over here and get.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the first book I ever published, Curse of the Frog Prince. It is for older teens and adults. And it involves a princess in a, well, I'll keep holding. It involves a princess in a fictional African country who, oh yeah, she's going through some stuff right now.
Okay.
Her kingdom's been taken over by this guy who killed her father. She has to marry the guy who killed her father in order to protect her people.
Wow.
And she's not a little dainty, oh, I just go to balls and dance princess. She's a warrior princess. She's used to getting a sword and chopping a bitch up if they mess with her.
Oh, okay.
So you can imagine she's not in a good place right now.
Right.
And she's trying to figure out, okay, what do I do to stop this guy? Can I do anything to get out of this marriage? All this other stuff. And one day, and she loses her family heirloom, which is the golden ball in the carver. It's recovered by this talking frog. He promises, to help her out of the situation, but it's going to cost her. And the question is it worth it?
Right. Now, two things with that book. She was marrying the guy that killed some people.
They're engaged before he killed her father.
Okay, was she doing that also not only to save her people, but also to plot to deal with him, killed him?
She was mostly doing it in the moment to save her people, because she's not in a position really where she can kill him herself. It's not a matter if she wouldn't give him the opportunity. It's more of if she tries to, he's got all his soldiers and stuff there. How is she going to back that up once he goes down because his people are there? There will be, I won't tell you exactly what happens, got to read the book. There will be a moment where she and her people who are operating in secret believe they can kill him, but that is going to turn on its head, because there is magic in this world, and when it comes up, it's like having a new whole challenger enter the ring.
Okay. And the other thing is the frog, would he or she symbolize kind of a
It's a male frog.
Okay, male frog. Does that frog symbolize somewhat of a wisdom person, a priest, or some?
More of somebody who just knows stuff you don't know, and it's convenient for them, and they got their own agenda.
Okay. Interesting. If that is interesting. Tell me about the second book.
Okay, my second book I published, Violet Evergreen and the Seeds of Rebellion, involves a young woman. Her name is Violet Evergreen. She belongs to an extremely wealthy family. But one day her parents were murdered by unknown killers. Now, she's not one of those people where they're like, I don't want that baby. I don't want that baby. She comes from a close family. And her relatives that were even named in her parents' will wanted to raise her.
Okay.
It was her father's siblings. They wanted to take care of her and everything. That was never a question. The problem was her father has an estranged sister. And she and her husband pop out from Brazil out of nowhere after not talking to the family forever, and demand to have custody of her when she's still a child. And this whole rigmarole, these people don't have nearly as much money as this family or anything else, so that whether or not they could custody shouldn't be a question. And yet they do. So that leaves the question of, why did that happen?
Right.
And the family who has all the money is perplexed. They have to make a deal with these relatives to let them live in the house so they could at least be close to her and try to help her, because these people are mean. It's clear they don't want her, which is weird. Why do you go through a custody battle if you don't want the child? They are mean to her all the time. And when the story takes place, she's an adult. And she's being forced to, in her world, there is something called extended custody, and that's what these relatives got. They're going to have custody over her, and I should have checked my notes, but I believe till she's 25.
Wow.
So that's what they do, because they claim she has a certain illness that causes her magic to spring out of control. And she doesn't, but they were able to get the court to say she does and somehow get custody utilizing that. So when they do that, she's 18 years old, going on 19, and she's questioning her life because they have her go on these assigned dates where you pay someone from a blue blood upper class family go on a date with you and see if you want to get married. And the guys they're sending her on a date with are drier than toast. They're self-absorbed, only aware of their own periphery, to the point where if she got up and jumped and said, "I'm a monkey," they wouldn't notice that they're talking about themselves.
Wow.
So it's like, why is she being made to go on these dates? That makes no sense. She's already got a dowry and stuff. And, her parents left her all this stuff. It's like, what is the point of this? What's going on? Why do these people want custody over her? What do they get out of that? And there you have that question. On top of, this is a story with magic. So you need to be aware everybody in their world has magic. So that's just a common thing. So that's not the big deal. What is the big deal is there are also demons.
Okay.
And they're dealing with a problem in their world of a lot of demon attacks.
Okay.
So you have a lot of things with something major going on, and then you see a lot of superficial stuff happening at the same time.
Wow.
So there are a lot of mysteries in that story as to what's going on, and she has to figure out the truth. At the same time, there are a lot of things in the background going on that she's going to realize she plays a bigger role in than she thought.
Wow. Your stories, both of those stories are extremely interesting. Yeah, and full of turn and twist and a lot of thought. Have you thought, because they're very fascinating, have you thought of trying to maybe run into some film people that may want to carry it to the film? I mean, turning these things
The
into film.
opportunity ever arises, but I want to complete the series first because I don't want to make George R.R. Martin's mistake.
Okay, so you do have plans to potentially.
Yeah, George R.R. Martin always says he regrets putting out Game of Thrones, letting them put out Game of Thrones before he was done with the books. And that's something I took to heart, because if you watch the final seasons of Game of Thrones, they were not good at all.
Okay.
So I thought I'd take a page out of his book. Just make sure to be done with your series before you, if opportunity arises once the series is done, to turn it into a movie or a series, to do so.
That's great. Now these are the other books, but the book you're talking about today is almost complete, but that's the book you want to promote. Am I correct? Or?
Well, I'm promoting my book that's almost complete, Curse the Frog Prince Part 2. Bloody Crown is probably going to take me a while, and I can't give you a date on it because it's taking so long. I actually thought I'd be done with it 2 years ago, and I'm not, so I'm not putting a timestamp on it.
What can you give us a taste of about that book? What can you I'm already fascinated by the first two books already. I think it's amazing. But what can you tell us about this new? I'm going to call it a masterpiece. What can you reveal to us?
Well, my new masterpiece that is actually almost out of development is my book, Curse of the Frog Prince Part 2. And I have another book almost out of development called Realms, the Hidden Fairy.
Okay.
And Curse of the Frog Prince Part 2, I got to skim over some stuff because I don't want to ruin Part 1 for you. But it follows the events of Curse of the Frog Prince Part 1, and a certain event happens that, puts this princess in a bit of a worse situation than she was before. And as she's trying to get out of that situation, she is getting a lot of information and learning a lot of things that she is having a hard time digesting, because I think I can tell you this, she was always told her kingdom was at war over resources, that the other kingdom, because there are two kingdoms, kingdom of Baktufo, kingdom of Enweo. Now, Baktufo was their enemy for generations. They've been fighting for decades. In both countries, every man, woman, and child has picked up a sword as soon as they could stand on their legs.
Wow.
So with that, they have been at war for a long time. And like I said, the man who killed the princess's father, he comes from a kingdom called Tanwa, that is empire building. He came in and defeated Baktufo and invited her father to a peace negotiation where he murdered him.
Wow.
Which goes against the rules when you do peace negotiate that in general, even in history, when you do stuff like that, you're not supposed to do things like that. It's a huge taboo.
Okay.
So that's what he did. And like I said, and then, he took advantage of the shock and took her kingdom. So in part two, as I was saying, she thought the war with the other country was over resources. Then she finds out that mineral resources had nothing to do with it. Her family's been hiding a huge secret, and they were actually at war with them because the other kingdom knew about it and wanted it.
Wow.
But they weren't about to hand it over because there's a consequence to using it.
Is it okay now? Is it a jury or is it tangible or intangible? This secret.
Tangible.
It's tangible. Okay.
And it's more than one item.
It's more than one item. Okay. Okay. Now, did you say something about another book you said?
Yes, I have another book that's almost out of development called Realms: The Hidden Fairy.
Can you tell us anything there? All of these books are just fascinating. Can you tell us anything?
Well, with Realms: The Hidden Fairy, I can tell you a bit more because it's not a part two.
Right.
With that one, you're following a young woman named Willow.
Okay.
She grew up in St. Louis. She's a young Black female, grew up in St. Louis. Her aunt owns a art studio, and her aunt's dating this really rich dude.
Okay.
So Willow is getting ready to go to college. She lives a pretty normal life, but except for her aunt raised her because her parents went missing. People thought they were dead, they're missing. And every time she asks her aunt or her aunt tries to tell her what happened to them, it's like this encroaching fear that takes her over to the point she can't even talk. And it's not like her aunt hasn't attempted several times, but every time this fear takes over. And Willow wants to know, well, what happened to my mom and dad? Because all she knows about her parents is her aunt was able to get out. Her biological father is a jerk, tried to kill her. Wow. And it was her mother and her mother's boyfriend who were basically her parents. That's all she knows. And she knows they used to live in Texas and then had to get out of Texas quick and move to St. Louis. And when her aunt came, she had no money because she had to abandon everything. Okay. That's all she knows. And she obviously, you'll want to know more because that's not a whole lot of information. That's a whole lot of mystery and secrets.
You're a great storyteller. So where do you get these ideas from? I mean, where do
authors never ask me my inspiration because I don't know. I can never give you a straight answer.
Do you wake up at 3? Do you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and ideas are just, oh, I gotta write this down? I mean, are you jogging at the park, walking at the park, and ideas are, do you see somebody, oh, that person looks interesting, and that, oh, I could turn that person, or kind of what I like about that person into a character. I'm just interested in this, cause it's so creative. What
Thank you.
Yeah, tell me what's going on here?
Most of the time it's random. Like I'll be doing something completely unrelated and it'll just pop in my head. But with this one, with Realms: The Hidden Fairy, I can kind of give you a little bit of an answer because Realms: The Hidden Fairy is one of my story ideas that erupted from something I really did not like. When I was a teenager, you may have heard of it, this show called Winx came out, and it was about fairies. And I liked it okay. And the only reason why I was watching it is I'm a huge anime buff. Right. And the only reason why I was watching Winx is because the Sarah Laboon series had ended and I needed some magical girl thing to watch. As a teenage girl, you have to give me my fix. So with Winx, I had remembered the show just one day and decided to watch it because I remembered I thought it was okay and never went far enough as a kid. And when I tried rewatching it, I hated it more than anything. It's
Mm.
like one of those shows you have to be at age to like it for me, in my case. And there, it instantly, when I didn't like it, my brain thought of all this stuff from what I knew from the Wink storyline that could have been done better. And then my mind didn't want to leave it alone. It kept thinking of different stuff and different stuff and different stuff. So when I started working on Realms, and I was telling a friend, when she asked me, well, what made you think of this one? I actually made her watch that show. She still hasn't forgiven me. But
Wow.
it's like I suddenly got a birth of ideas, but it's from something I didn't like and my mind wanted to improve it.
Wow. What comes to mind, I can't remember the artist, because I songwriter as well as an author. And I can't remember the artist, but this guy was a DJ. I can't remember right now. And he was listening to, songs that they played, and he just felt, I can do better than that. Come on. And he wrote songs that were better and became an artist and had some hits from California. I can't remember the name right off, but I'm saying it's kind of the same thing. You were watching these shows and you felt, or this show, and you felt that it wasn't doing justice to whatever concept or idea that they had, and you realized that you could do a better job and you could add more plot or more details. And it seems like that's what took place. And just listening to you talk, and I'm sure the public as well listening to you right now, can see that great imagination. Now, did you, I'm trying to think here, when some of these, prior to you writing your first book, and you had these ideas, did you go to any friends or family and say, shared a little bit, like, okay, well, I have, this is in my head, this is what I'm thinking, and they kind of said, whoa, that should be a book, or that's fascinating, or did you have the other situation where people were saying, you're in fantasy land, or come on, do the 9 to 5, come on, stop talking about this? What was your experience being such a creative third dimension type person that can see things that others cannot see and make something come out? What was your experience with let's say, not normal people, regular Joes, regular people who didn't have quite the imagination that you definitely obviously possess?
Well, it goes like this. My father actually, when he was young, wrote comics, but he never really did anything with it and he stopped. And he
Mm-hmm.
became an engineer and everything. But
Okay.
something when I was really little, I don't remember all of them very well, but he would occasionally make up stories and tell me about it. And my uncle told me recently when he came to visit, because he was so happy to see my books, he told me our family has the talent for books and all kinds of art, but none of us have ever tried to capitalize it. And he was proud of me for being the first one to figure out how to make a career out of my art. But when I
Hmm.
was working on my first book, Bloody Crown, it was taking me years. And then Curse of the Frog Prince just ran in along with Violet. So I started working on those. And when I completed Curse of the Frog Prince, my mother was the first person I let read it, because my mother went in with a realistic thing. She did not want to be unsupportive because she knew I could be good at it. But at the same time, if I was bad at it, she knew she'd have to have a career talk with me.
And
So I
so,
gave her I'm sorry?
no, go ahead. No, continue.
So I gave her the book. She read it and she was amazed that I wrote what I wrote. And she felt like, yes, I could do this whole author writing thing. So I started, continuing to work on the different ideas I had, but at the same time, I was trying to get attention for my stuff.
Now,
And as you can imagine, when you first start out, you get no attention.
okay. So
So Mhm.
I just have to, I'm sorry, interject, it's so exciting. So when she read the book, what was her, I mean, you might have already said it, but what did she, what was the first things that she said to you when she, after reading something
She
in the
was
book?
just saying, "You're such a fantastic writer. You're so talented with this." She admitted to me that she had a speech prepared if I was not good at it, and she was glad she could throw it out because she didn't want to tell it. But she was just so happy with it. Although the best reaction to my book probably came from my friend.
Mhm.
I had nagged her because she said she was going to get my book and she was getting on my nerves for some reason. I forget why. But she was talking about, I'm like, well, you just get the book. And she's like, okay. And then she got it. And then she didn't read it. And I'm like, you were telling me, oh, she wanted to do some social media stuff at the time. And I was like, you told me you wanted to practice your social media promotion thing with my stuff. Will you just read the book? And she was like, okay. Next thing I know, she's calling me. And she's like, no, 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 no. I'm like, what? What's wrong? What? Did I do something? What's wrong?
Yeah.
He's like, this book is so, oh my God, this book is so amazing. I nearly burned my grits. I'm like, you burned your grits? She's like, no, I almost burned my grits. I put a pot of water on the stove to cook boil for the grits. Then I was starting to read your book and I almost burned my pot. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you understand. Oh my God, I feel like this book was made for me. That was the most expressive reaction I got from somebody who read my book. But so far, everybody who's read it told me that they really enjoy it because it's something different.
So, and when you heard these things, that was confirmation. Was that not confirmation for you?
I feel like it confirmed to me that even though I was looking at the attorney path in the beginning, God probably meant for me to be a writer.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Now, do you think you can expand that into being? Here I am. Um, I don't see why you can't be a screenwriter. I don't see why you can't be a co-director. Could that expand you into other areas?
I may learn how to do stuff like that eventually because in addition to my writing, like I said, I need to get attention because people were basically ignoring me when I was trying to get attention for the book. And at first, I came up with my pen name and I was just taking my picture. Not really anyone was paying attention to me. And then one day I was watching a video game programmer. He was promoting only game in the series I know is Near Automata, but it wasn't the one he was promoting. It was one of the Near games. He was rolling on the floor wearing a weird mask and talking about a t-shirt he was trying to sell.
Okay.
And when I saw him doing it, hit me. I will not roll on the floor holding a t-shirt, but I should get a mask different from his to, stand out and help promote my stuff. And that goes more into the film thing because as soon as I started wearing the mask, I thought, I need to take YouTube and other stuff more seriously if I want my books to be seen and if I want people to know stuff about it. So I started really taking my YouTube channel more seriously. I removed all the pre-mask videos and I worked on the craft and got better working with filming and other things to help promote who I am, my brand, and my brand. So that's what I do with YouTube. And if I ever expand into doing that myself, I feel like I've already got the training wheels on.
Great. I'm just thinking that just a thought, throwing it out there, some book marketing, I think would be perfect for you if you haven't already done it. There's some book marketing companies that I'm not saying a host of them, but one or two or whatever that you can research that are expert in your type of books. I'm more of a nonfiction writer, but that's not, we're talking about you. Book marketing companies that can actually get your transcript, your book in front of readers that enjoy your type of reading. I'm just thinking of something that would could assist and increase sales. And I think that from just listening to you and seeing how devoted you are in terms of your mask and your whole character and everything like that, I think you could sell a lot, if not already, a lot of books, be extremely successful. So the initial thing that comes to me is book marketing companies, if you haven't done that. And I
Help
think
me find one that's not a vanity publisher, because when I was doing research, I think vanity publishers have cornered the market on interrupting basic book publishing research.
okay. And then down the road too, also a publicist. But I think book marketing, some book marketing, that's what I'm looking at. Book marketing companies that get your book and they have a specialty of putting it in that market would be great. Because I think from hearing you talk and hearing your stories, they're very fascinating. And there's actually some out there that deal with wanting to carry these books onward to the right film people that that would when you're ready for that, that would probably see something like this and just grab at it. Of course, you work out the right type of I don't know, multi-million-dollar deal, whatever's going to happen there. But
Fingers crossed.
I'm just going to say book marketing companies, eventually a publicist down the road. I think sky's the limits. I'm just fascinated, and I think you definitely with the perfect first couple. I mean, perfect first guest on American authors and others, and I have a Black authors and others as well. But I think you're the first authentic guest, perfect guest for American authors and others. Be it that you're African American, be it that you also have African roots. So you just kind of just multicultural. And I'm very pleased, and I think the world will be too, and that you were able to get those books done. I'm looking, like I said, book marketing companies to get you check those out and get involved, publicists and other people that deal with it transforming into a film. I just see sky's the limits. I'm very proud of what you're doing, and what you're going to mean to the Black community, and I want you to think to the American community, to the world community. That's yes, Black community. There's no question about that. But I think the American community and the world community, I think that you're just getting started, and I think you're going to be very big, very huge. I really appreciate you coming on the program. It's amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm not just saying that. My mind is totally blown. It's blown. That with what you're saying.
When you found an author holding a bottle of wine and wearing a mask.
Yeah, but it's amazing. I mean, the stories, I think it's beyond my pay grade at this particular point. I'm going to do some documentaries, and will write a film script myself, but fiction, but yet and still kind of based on some things. And I have a few film ideas, but your stuff, I think, is on another level, and it transcends race, and it transcends cultures, and it's world stories that the world can connect with, can have meaning behind. And so I'm just really excited, and I cannot wait to see the great things that are headed your way. So I guess let me go here. Are there anything that you want to tell? I'm asking questions, but is there anything that you want to tell on the 4 books that you want to get out to the public, you know, that without any questions coming your way? What do you want the public to know?
Well, I'll let the public know that if you want to see more about me and my books, please check out my YouTube channel. It's called Madam Crystal Butterfly,
Okay.
where I do different type of videos. I actually give writing advice to help other authors just getting into the writing game, because I was lied to a lot when I first got in. So I want other people to avoid that, along with, you know, little other videos such as tasting and unboxing videos just for fun. But my channel is mostly about writing advice. And if you want to learn more about my books, just click the description to any of my videos and you will see the links to my Facebook, which my Facebook is called Books by Madam Crystal Butterfly, and my Instagram, which is author Madam Crystal Butterfly, but you will see the links to those in descriptions on my YouTube if you want to find them easier, along with the link to my Amazon account that shows my books if you wish to check them out. But with my stories, I have a overwhelming flood of stories, especially I'm even working on a book called The Vampire Problem, where I'm making fun of the fantasy, you know, that silly fantasy thing where you have two people see each other and instantly they're in love. I'm kind of making fun of it while at the same time doing a thing with traditional, you know, like Dracula and everybody, horror movie monsters in a futuristic setting, which is my book, The Vampire Problem, which is still very early in development, and I'm working on that. But I am, as I was saying in the beginning, almost done with my book, Curse the Frog Prince Part 2. You'll definitely want to follow this princess on her adventure, because don't hear Frog and Prince and expect the look at the Grimm brothers story and have expectation. My stories, as you even said, are very different and fun because they do something different. But Curse of the Frog Prince Part 2 is coming, so you're definitely going to want to check out Part 1 to see what's happening with the story, because I can tell you it's a lot of fun. Along with my books, Realms the Hidden Fairy, you know, that one also introducing a different kind of story, something I believe you'll find fun to read, especially when you start getting into the mystery of what Willow is going to discover when she searches for the truth about her parents.
Great. Now, these books, can we find them on Amazon if we want to purchase these books?
Yes.
Okay. And by chance, I guess you have Instagram and possibly a website. Do you have those things? Okay. So
my website is still under construction, so I would look on my Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Okay. So, you know, sometime this week, just email me and the things that you want, and I'll see, can I put them,
I
you
can
know,
send
make
you an email
them,
after the interview.
yeah, we make sure that people be aware and can get the material, because I think it's definitely great. One thing I could say at this particular point, I guess we could continue talking so long, I mean, on and on, is I really appreciate you making history here, being the first guest.
Thanks for having me and letting me make history.
Yeah, and continue doing the great work that you're doing. Keep those thoughts coming, keep that creativity going, and just keep creating masterpieces. And so thank you again. And I'm going to finish the show. Maybe we'll talk briefly after I hit the end and record. But I want to say to everybody out there that, you know, believe in yourself, work to and walk toward your dreams as she has done. She's a prime example. And go out there and conquer the world. There's nothing that you can't do if you put your mind to it and you have the ability and God-given talent to do it. Do not give up, move forward, and achieve. And we want to thank you And our special guest, first guest, who's making history on American authors and other, Miss Madden, Crystal Butterfly. It's been quite a mind-blowing first show, and I hope that young people, I hope others are inspired. I don't care what race you are, and see the greatness that she possesses and that she is a role model for you. And by all means, go out, get all of her material, go to her YouTube channel, learn more, be blessed, be enlightened, and have a better life due to learning from what she has put out there for the world, and through her voice for you all. So thank you very much. This has been the mind-blowing American first episode of the American Authors and Others. Come again. Thank you.